So today's show is really about this. It's about how to make new friends again. That also includes bringing back the friends that you had before, but you don't really know how to relate to them. So this is what today's episode is truly about, and I hope that what we share today will make it easier for you to connect. When I pick up my daughter from school every day, I see the families, I see the parents I've known for many years, and many of them say hi, and I recognize them, and many of them say hi, and I have no idea who they are because their kind of body shape has changed over the last year, says Dave. I know I've put some weight on as well. But also the fact that when you've got a mask and you can't really see who's there, you kind of lose a lot of the relationship and the bonding that you'd already had. Because once you've seen their eyes and you've seen their face and you've got the movements, you're able to work out what a relationship is, all the rest of it falls into place. But when you can't recognize them and they're saying, hi, how are you? You've got to start from scratch by asking those questions. Who are you? What do we know about each other? And where does that go? So with today's episode, it's really about looking at a couple of different things that I think you'll find really interesting. Now, this is a template for creating great relationships. Do you remember that? Friends. It's doing the rounds again. In fact, over the last year or so, people have been watching a lot of these episodes because there weren't any new shows of any resort being made. So Friends is all about 6 people. I will say now, I won't say it again, they're all white. But 6 people who were as close as it could get. And in the 90s, everybody was white. So it was a great show, really funny. We were endeared to them, we loved them, and they became our best friends. And every single episode was about the interwoven relationships between them and the outside world, their dating, their fun, their hugs, their laughing, their crying, their babies, their marriages, their divorces. All that stuff would come together. And it was really exciting. But I get the feeling now that a show like that would be really hard to put together because so many people do not feel comfortable getting close together in the same way. When you watch a TV show, do you often think, well, was this done before the lockdown because everyone's a little bit close? We know they're not wearing masks anymore, but should they be wearing masks? Should they send that message? And it's also realistic to say that during the time that we have right now, it looks like many places around the world might not be completely clean to be able to walk around without a mask and socialize. Many of the ones that have done really well did it because they closed the borders and just didn't let anybody else in. But business can't work like that. Commerce, hospitality, the travel industry at some point has to embrace the fact that we have to move around and we have to be more interconnected. So where do we start with the whole process of making friends? Well, let's first of all look at what the challenges are. Let's look at why people have so many problems when it comes to actually doing that stuff. So what's that all about? Why have friendships become so difficult post-COVID-19? Well, first of all, let's take this. Young people and young mothers find it harder to connect than anybody. 61% and 51% respectively had said that they, in a survey, didn't really like meeting new people or found it really difficult because of the challenges that they're facing, whether it's university or it's just looking after the baby or looking after the kids, and going out is a real problem. Add to that the fact that we don't have any system for meeting new friends. Pretty much the way that I did it when I was younger, yes, I was young once, was, do you fancy going out for a beer? If the answer is yes, happy days. But in many countries, the bars are closed, the nightclubs are closed, even the coffee shops are closed. So how do you socialize? Where are you going to meet them? How do you have that conversation? Beer was responsible for many of us being bored. I won't go down that route. But it was all part of that dance. You'd go out, you'd socialize, you meet somebody, you'd see how well you got on. Don't pretend you don't know. You might not know. And as a direct result, thank you, Mr. Beer, here I am. That's all changed. May it go back? Maybe, but we'll just have to see. By the way, we're going out live across various platforms, going out to Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So if you'd like to say hi or like to share your ideas or your messages or comments, then please feel free. If you've got friends that you'd like to be connected to, send them this. Get them to watch it live or later. And as a result of that, it may actually bridge a gap and get them to talk to you in the way that they haven't done for a very long time. So there we go. Let's go back to this. Number 3, no experience of intimacy. Here's how bad it's got. There's a thing called a Cuddle Comfort app. And what happens is when you pay a certain fee for the app, you can order somebody to come to your house and give you a cuddle on your front doorstep. Only a cuddle, a hug, that's it. For the people that do feel incredibly lonely and just feel they need to have somebody spending 10 seconds, 15 seconds just actually physically hugging them. And so when it gets to that, you know that things are pretty bad. Number 4, anxiety and depression and insomnia are clearly on the rise, and that makes perfect sense. Do you have an easy time sleeping? Well, maybe if you had your beer, it's relatively easy. But for many people, it's just a really uncomfortable situation going to sleep, especially if you're living on your own. Not to bring it up, but you'll be aware of that already. Number 5, moving for work means starting again in many cases. So for many people, they're leaving where they grew up and relocating to a new place, and you've got to start again with their social life. That's even worse after lockdown. If you lost your job and you're moving to somewhere to start again, you're moving to a new place that probably has empty streets. So how are you going to connect? Once you've moved in, you've got no knowledge of your neighbors, you've got no knowledge of what to do next. It's a big problem. Number 6, friendship low down on the priorities when surveys are done. Now this sounds ridiculous, but it's completely true. Did you know that in a survey done in 2017, first of all, family was priority of 69%, career 34%, money 23%, faith 20%, and friends was right down on the list. 19% of people said that friendship was really important to them above all those other things. So it's no surprise that we really have been losing those skills. Add to it, there's more things. Tech, for instance, is more important in many cases than people. Do you check to see how many real friends you have in the world? Do you know how many real friends you have in the world? I mean, people you could call and they come around to see you or socialize with you or go out for a meal at the drop of a hat, as opposed to how many people online are your followers who aren't your real friends, but they will certainly comment and share and like the stuff you're doing, but you've got no physical proper relationship. And you might not share your innermost thoughts because it'd be creepy because you don't really know them that well. Next up, people have got less cash than before. Generally, for socializing and doing things, depending on your age, you may be saving to leave home, you may be buying a new home, you may be paying school fees, buying a car. Now, these are pretty universal, but what's happened is basically the cost of living's gone up. And so there's less money to be thrown away into socializing, having fun, and let's going out and having a party. I look at all the times that I used to go out and socialize when I was much younger, but I was living at home with my parents. And yes, Dad, thank you, and Mum as well, for paying all those bills, which I thought just grew on trees. But when you're actually looking after it all yourself, you've got other options, and none of them seem to be just left for you to go out and have a really good time. Next on the list is this. We're used to being on our own when things go bad. We're now used to it. It's a thing we kind of got used to, and it's not a good thing. When things go bad, we should be able to reach out and connect. In fact, if you look at the blue zones that exist in certain countries like Japan and Italy, where people live to about 100 years old, the real reason that they live is not their diet, it's their feeling of purpose. It's their network, it's their connection to the community. A community that doesn't matter what job they do, they'll check in on them, they'll check on other people as well, and everyone feels valid. Now we're living on our own. Even if you're living in a bubble with a small family or an extended family, it's very easy to feel that you have no network and you're not connected to anybody else. And add to it this. I know it sounds exciting, but trust me, overall, it's a challenge. Artificial intelligence, sex bots, VR sex, and Clubhouse, not all happening at the same time, but Clubhouse I've mentioned many times before. In fact, while we're on the subject of Clubhouse, let me share with you that I'll be doing a Clubhouse very soon. So this is Clubhouse here on Monday, 8:30 Dubai time, which I think is about 11 or 12 o'clock in the US in Houston. Normally Ernesto joins me for that. I'll be doing how to start your own TV show and turn it into a side hustle. Come along and join us if you're on Clubhouse. Connect with me if you're on Clubhouse as well, by the way. And then there's a new bell that you can ring, or it'll ring for you every time I start a show. So that means you can come along. Or contact me directly if you want to start your own TV show. On that subject, by the way, there's so many things that we could talk about relating to TV shows. We will go through all this in a future conversation. Okay, so if you like the idea of having your own TV show and you wonder what that actually comes down to and how you can create it, we'll be dealing with that in a whole new show. And if you can't wait that long, just connect with me directly and I can help you with that. Meanwhile, going back to the friendship thing, all these different clubs, all these different ideas are all based on really the fact that we know you're going to be lonely, but wouldn't you like to have an app that becomes your friend? Well, no, I'd like to have a friend that becomes a friend. But what if you don't like me anymore? That's why it's easier just to buy something, and as it becomes more sophisticated, let that be the substitute for real conversation and real people. So that is a huge problem facing everybody at this moment in time. Let's have a big deep dive now into what you can do to change all that as we share with you the real videos on how to really change your life. I love your thoughts, I love your comments, and I love to know what you think as we go along. This is Speak on Stage.
Do you remember how easy it was to make friends in high school? You were thrown together by circumstance or mutual interests. If you went to college, it was probably even easier. You were surrounded by people in your same major, and there were a seemingly unlimited number of clubs and sororities or fraternities to join. You thought it would always be that easy, didn't you? So did I. My first job out of school felt like a bucket of cold water to the face. Gone were the ready-made friend groups. People I thought I'd know forever moved out of town, and my new work colleagues might as well have been from a different planet. I lived far away from family in a small community with only my husband for company. And for a long time, I tried to look at this as a positive. An empty social calendar meant more time to start on my career path and fewer opportunities to overspend on nights out. Plus, as an introvert, I didn't really feel like I needed anyone else. After moving to a bigger town and starting work at the same company as my husband, however, I realized I had a problem. We woke up together, went to work together, talked in chat messages all day, went home together, had dinner together, and went to bed together. We weren't experiencing anything new worth discussing. Eventually, the idea of spending one more evening staring into my peas, grasping desperately for a topic of conversation, was almost nauseating. I needed to find fun things to do and fun people to do them with. The fact that not having friends made me so unhappy shouldn't be surprising, given the fact that having quality friendships is good for your health. It reduces stress, lowers the risk of later life cognitive decline, doesn't require special equipment, and doesn't have to be expensive. The trouble is, I don't participate in most of the social things where people meet, even the free ones. I don't party, and loud music makes my head hurt, so bars are out. I don't believe in getting overly chummy with coworkers, and I'm not a member of a religious organization. My favorite hobbies are solitary ones. Having no real idea how to make friends outside of college, I turned to technology, specifically a dating app. Well, that's only sort of true. I just like freaking people out. It was actually the find friends of your same gender side of a dating app. Clearly, I'm not the only 30-something struggling. I scanned hundreds of profiles, swiping left and right with a dedication that probably bordered on scary. Unfortunately, for the most part, I found the app underwhelming. You know what a lot of women in my town love? Yoga and boozy brunches. I also enjoy these things occasionally, but are they what I lead with when I have 4 sentences worth of space to get someone to want to chat with me? They are not. At least all the similar-sounding profiles made it easier to spot a few nerdy gals who listed interests like reading and playing board games. Finding each other was, I think, akin to spotting a lifeboat in the middle of the ocean after a shipwreck. You're glad to see it, but you're still alone in the ocean. We clicked and wanted to expand our friend circle further, but weren't sure how. We started off with a structured attempt by founding a book club. Groups like this tend to be pretty fluid, with slow build-up and high attrition. The core crowd is small, and we've struggled to grow, which is a shame, because the ladies who make it week after week are fun and insightful, and we have great conversations about more than just what we're reading. Our organic efforts at widening our social circle, however, have been more successful. All of us and our partners have varying degrees of experience with Dungeons & Dragons, a tabletop role-playing game released in the 1970s. Recognizing our mutual nerdiness, we started playing soon after we met. Membership has shifted over time, and we've all started additional groups with people we've met or reconnected with. It's been a fantastic way to get to know others and make badass, ridiculous memories. One great lesson this entire experience has taught me is to embrace extroverts rather than be terrified by them. Being friends with just one extrovert means making friends with all their friends. They invite me to the best game nights, and they don't mind that I may have to retreat into a closet for a few minutes every hour or so. It's also been important for me to recognize that it's not about the number of friends I have, but the quality of those friendships. We've done a lot and been through a lot together and had way more fun than I could have imagined. And now I always have something new to talk about at dinner.
So welcome back to me, Dave Crane, on Speak on Stage, and that was a look into a couple of things, especially if you're an introvert. Now, here's a really weird thing. You might not know this about me, but I'm a massive introvert. Yes, it's true. It's like yin and yang. On stage, I'm in charge, and I have no problem running a room of 1,000 people or going out in front of 45,000 people, 45 plus thousand people all screaming and shouting with a microphone, just taking care, singing karaoke and making sure that everyone has great fun. But when I go out socially on my own or with a small group of friends, I'm the quietest person in the room. Why is that? It's just the way it is. I don't like to be loud when I don't have to be loud. And many people have that same thing. For many introverts as well, they have a different way of connecting with people. And so it's really nice when you do meet another introvert, because there you can have a conversation without trying to score any points, just by connecting. You might find the same thing. Let me know in the comments if you're an introvert or an extrovert, or you've never really thought about it before. I'm always fascinated to find out. Okay, so let's go back to why it truly matters. Let's go back to the big challenges here on how to make new friends. And so with that, I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas that I think are kind of useful to being able to make that a quality experience for yourself and everybody else. Number one, remember this: your fear is in your head. The way that you feel about all these things, you actually are creating them. People don't perceive it the way that you perceive it. So just remember, if you want to say hello to people, just say hello to people. They might say yes, they might say no. The odds are they'll probably say hi back. And 99% of the time, you just feel better as a result of that, unless you run away straight away afterwards. Okay, next up, number two is this. Start with the people you know and the people they know. What does that mean? Well, if you're going to start making friends, especially after lockdown, you already have a huge amount of friends that are on your phone. Let's start saying hello to them, friends and family, and start communicating with them. They may well have a network of people that you can connect to and be introduced to, people who might have the same interests and so on. And just like in sales, the best way to close a deal is not to go out and cold call somebody, it's to be introduced and referred by somebody who sings your praises. Because then within 3 seconds of turning up, as long as you don't prove you're a serial killer or you've got a kitten in a box and you're shaking it and doing horrible things at the same time, people go, oh, you are the same as the person I Googled. Great, let's get some business done. So connecting through other people can be really useful. I'm sorry about the kitten thing. I am a dog man. All right, number three is this. Get out there and join stuff. What do you mean join stuff? Well, go to meetups, go to clubs, connect through parties, do lots of different things that maybe you haven't done for a while. If you have to, do it online. There are lots of connections online. Maybe you set up an after-work session on Zoom for all your friends to connect and just have some fun together. Maybe have after-dinner drinks. Have a coffee and a chat separately from stuff. Have a breakout room. And if you're a boss, then let people have a lunch break where they can just sit and talk to who they want. Necessarily doesn't have to be about work. It could just be about connection. But make sure you go and join stuff, because that's where people are, and the odds are everybody's going for the same kind of challenges that you are as well. That's good. Cheers. Number four is take the first step and go up and say hello to people. I know that's kind of daunting because they might turn around and say no, but it's true. Here's the thing. Do you ever meet somebody and you go, wow, their partner's really hot? And you go, probably don't deserve that. How did they end up with that person? Well, they went out, unless incredibly rich or great at sport or very famous. The odds are is they went over and started talking to them. And often you get somebody who's really attractive who nobody will talk to because they're scared that they're going to turn around and just look up and down and go, not worth it, I'm not going to talk to you. So go over and talk to people, say hello. Doesn't matter what your intentions are, unless they're genuine, because people will work it out very quickly as well. And if you find they're not great fun, walk off. Doesn't matter. You don't have to spend all your time. You don't even have to marry them, but be the first person to say hello, and you get a lot more hellos than you get goodbyes. Number 5, be open. Don't judge other people just because of what you see. That's one of the biggest problems in the world right now with racial prejudice and other things like that. Don't judge. Have an open heart. It's incredibly true that so many people that you've ignored are not what you think. Because when you, as a child, start growing up and you meet friends and so on, and have experiences, you think that when you meet somebody who reminds you of somebody you knew as a kid, they're going to be exactly the same as that person you knew as a kid. They're not. They're different people, different experiences. They might look similar. They might act sometimes similar, but their experiences to take them to that point that can give everyone an opportunity. You can always move on very quickly if you don't want to play ball with them. Number 6 is this. Get interested in the other person. Ask them open questions, not yes/no questions where they go, yeah, no, because there's nothing worse than that pregnant silence where nothing seems to make sense and you wonder, why am I still here? But if you ask them open questions, what you end up doing is they will then lead and it keeps going. What's an open question? So in the time that you've spent being here, what did you like most about it? What do you do in your spare time? Have you got a big family, and where do they live and what do they do? How long have you been doing this? You know, the things where you've got to ask a question where the answer can't be just one word. It has to be a sentence reply. Do you find me sexy? No. Oh, well, that was a short answer. But the thing is, you've got to ask open questions because then they have to feel that there's conversation going. And then you can also, as you listen, be very careful to pick up on the good bits, the bad bits, and the things that make them tick. It's always important to listen to them. Connect with a genuine interest to give things to them. What's that mean? Well, the biggest thing for any relationship is people ask, what's in it for me? You being married, you being in a partnership, you being at work, you can draw from the other person's conclusion the reason why they are still connected to you. Not because they have to, but because the relationship gives them something. Whether it gives them staff, or it gives them money, or it gives them connection, or it gives them love or security, what's in it for them? When you do connect, be genuine and think about what they want and give them more of that. So that relationship will grow as a direct result. Next up is this, 8, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Don't fake anything. People can Google and find out. But just be honest and open. You don't have to share everything. Oh, I'm a shoplifter. Really? Yeah, I can't stop myself. In fact, I had a look in your bag when you went to the bathroom. Too much information, but it does matter about connecting with people, and it does matter that they get to know the real you. And don't worry about what people think of you. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're proud in your own skin and you're happy, you don't have to marry anybody, just make friends. And what happens is people appreciate the transparency and the honesty, and we will all fill the gaps of things that go wrong. So imagine meeting somebody in a restaurant or a coffee shop or even a bar, and you're talking to them, and you say, where are you from? And they say, well, I'm from the same place. Well, for me, I'm from the UK. Whereabouts in the UK? I'm from the northeast. Whereabouts? Northeast of England. A place called Redcar. No, I'm from Middlesbrough. Really? Yes. That's so close to where I grew up. Fantastic. So where were you? Which school did you go to? Well, actually, I moved from Redcar. I used to go to Rye Hills. No, Rye Hills School. Yes. Oh, my goodness. That's incredible. Same as me. So what do you do? Well, I'm a serial killer. Okay, well, forget that, but let's talk about Rye Hills and talk about Redcar. You see how you skip over that? Well, you wouldn't skip over that. You'd probably run over that. But the whole point is that when you create that bonding and you tell people who you genuinely are, they're looking for ways to connect to you, and you give them an easy way of doing it. Next up is this. Number 9, be there for them. How many of your friends have been there for you over the last year and a bit? Real friends, genuinely checking in, seeing how you're doing. Probably not as many as you'd want. How many have you been there for at the same time? Because the number's probably the same. Now is your opportunity. Remember, today's session is really about how you make those connections and that relationship and make it work with new friendships. Well, be there for them. Just care and check in on them. You don't have to necessarily be on a Zoom call. Just send them a text message. In fact, do it now. Have a look for the people that you should be connected to and just say, hi, I was thinking of you, and just checking on how you are. If you want to do it from a business point of view, send them an article, something that you think would be of interest to them, and just say, I was coming across this the other day, and I thought of you, thought it might be useful. You'd be surprised how many people return a favor by then giving you business or connecting you with somebody else, because it's built into our nature to be reciprocal. Somebody does something good for you, you want to do something good for them in return. And last but not least is this. Stay in touch. Make the effort. It takes 2 hands to clap. Saying that in the Arabic way, you can make clapping noises. I can't do it, can I? It's like a really rubbish glove puppet. It's like Kermit naked, but with less noise. So connect to people, stay in touch, and start doing it now. You won't be in lockdown forever, and you've got the opportunity to make friends with people all around the world. Start that same process with them. Going into your Facebook, going into your LinkedIn, doesn't matter where you connect with people, or going into your phone book and looking at the people you already know. Start making those relationships, connect with people. You'd be surprised how easy it is to have that whole thing come back again, and the pleasure will be all yours. You'd be surprised how many people really enjoy the fact that you've made friends with them and they feel the need to do the same back to you. I hope that's kind of useful for you today, because I feel better already. I feel like we've been our friends all the way through, and thanks for your comments and your thoughts, and let me know whereabouts in the world you are. And also, likes and shares are very useful. So any likes and comments that you can make, the algorithm makes sure that other people gets to see this as well. So it's kind of good.